There was a time when the world was drowning in darkness and chaos. A time of magic, witchcraft, and rituals. A time when no one dared to rise against the evil. The cold wind howled across the Carpathian mountains, carrying with it whispers of the forgotten dead. Shadows danced along ancient castle walls as if alive, trembling with secrets too dark to name. The world had changed, but the darkness never truly died. It waited silently, beneath soil and stone, beneath the thin veil of peace that humanity had stitched together with war, blood, and denial. And now, once again, it was stirring. Gabriel Van Helsing had disappeared after the fall of the Crimson Coven. He carried no name, no past, only the scars of war and a single crucifix that glowed faintly in the dark. When the world was blind to the monsters that walked among them, he was not. The world believed he was dead, lost to legend like so many of the creatures he hunted. Time had chiseled his face with loss. Each wrinkle whispered a name: Anna, Velkin, Karl, old magic, black as pitch. A cult reborn from the ashes of Vladis Mortem, the necromancer king. Their chant rose in unison, a symphony of rot and shadow, all ghosts now, all part of the endless silence that followed him wherever he went. But legends, like curses, have a habit of returning when the night is longest. In a forgotten monastery buried deep in the Romanian hills, a single candle burned against the wind. A map, a sigil, a single word: Leviathan. Eliza, a scholar and mystic of the New Order, found him in a burned-out chapel outside Vienna. She came with knowledge, scrolls of prophecy, and eyes that saw too much. It flickered, casting long shadows on the stone floor, where an old man scribbled frantically onto worn parchment. With each step, the Leviathan's cult grew bolder, sending familiars and shadows to test Van Helsing's resolve. His eyes were wild, his hands shaking as he repeated the same phrase again and again. The oath is broken, the blood is calling, and then silence. A circle of stone and ash where the sky always wept and the earth pulsed like a beating heart. There, the truth was revealed. A scream echoed through the monastery's halls, and when the brothers arrived, they found only blood and a message carved into the wall: Bring Van Helsing. Thousands of miles away, in the decaying alleyways of 1899 East London, a hooded figure moved like smoke. In the caverns beneath the monastery where it all began, Van Helsing faced the risen Leviathan, a creature of endless mouths and eyes, speaking in the voices of the dead. Van Helsing lived, but he was no longer the man the world remembered. Together, they formed the Second Covenant, one of hunter and seer, forged not in fear, but in sacrifice. But silence would not last. Not now. The Vatican had sent word urgent, coded and sealed with black wax. Elsewhere, far beneath the streets of Prague, in crypts forgotten even by the dead, something stirred. By blood we bind, by blood we rise. The oath reborn under crimson skies. They had a goal: awaken the Leviathan, the first vampire, the eater of kings, the one who had been sealed away by the blood oath of Van Helsing's ancestor 5 centuries before. And the key to his return? Van Helsing's blood. Gabriel was summoned not by kings or popes, but by dreams soaked in fire and bone. You carry the curse, but also the cure, she said. I've carried enough, he replied, loading silver bullets into a revolver older than the city they stood in. They journeyed across haunted forests and into catacombs carved with runes that bled when touched. But it wasn't just his enemies he battled. It was doubt, guilt, the weight of every life he couldn't save, every scream he couldn't silence. The journey led them to the Valley of Kings in Transylvania, where the blood oath was first sworn. Gabriel Van Helsing was not just a hunter. He was a gate. His blood held the seal. His death would be the key. But he was not alone. Eliza stood with him, not just as a scholar but as a descendant of the witch who had first bound the Leviathan. The final battle was not a clash of swords, but of wills. He did not win with strength. He won by bleeding, by willingly giving his blood to complete the seal, to remake the oath, and to end the cycle. As the Leviathan screamed and vanished into shadow, Van Helsing fell. But he smiled, because the world would never know. But Eliza would remember, and in that memory, the darkness would stay chained.